Hello, everyone. We will wait a couple of seconds for more to settle in. I know it takes a little bit of time to log in, so let's wait maybe one more minute before we start the webinar. Thanks for joining. Okay, maybe we can start now. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on EDB 13, New Enhancements for Security and Usability. My name is Violet from EDB APJ Marketing, and I will be your host today. Before we start, here are some housekeeping items. Please note that all the slides, the slide deck and recording will be sent to you after the webinar. If you have a question, please submit it via the Q&A box, which you can see at the bottom of your screen. Our presenter today is Michael Wheeler, Sales Engineer at EDB. And in today's session, we have some new things that Michael will share with you. Even though this webinar has been conducted for our North America and EMEA audience some time back. So we hope that you will really find this very useful. Do remember to share your questions. Okay, before we start, we have a poll that we want to get some questions, get some answers from you. So let me launch the poll now. Okay, the first question, tell us, are you currently using EDB Advanced Server, which is EPAS? Do let us know if you are using version 12 or earlier, or EPAS version 13, or you are not using or you are just using Postgres community version supported by EDB, or Postgres community version supported by other vendors, or Postgres community version self-supported, or you are just using other DBMS. Yeah, we'll give a few minutes for people to log their answers in.
So while people are voting, Violet, I just want to make sure, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Good, okay.
Okay, let me stop the poll now for question 1. Okay, oh, they have answered actually even question 2 also. So
That was efficient.
okay, sorry. Okay, never mind. I think we can stop the poll now, and I can share the results. Okay, so hold on, sorry. The majority for question 1, are you currently using EDB Advanced Server? The majority 25%, one quarter, say that yes, they're using ePass version 12 or earlier. And then another 19% says that they're using ePass version 13. 13% say that they are using Postgres community version supported by EDB, and only 6% say that they are using Postgres community version supported by other vendors. Another quite a high percentage, 25%, say that they are using Postgres community version self-supported. So and then 13% say that they're using other DBMS. So to summarize, I think 25% say that they are using ePass version 12 or earlier, and another 25% say that they are using Postgres community version self-supported. And as to the tools, the majority, more than half, 53%, are using PEM, Postgres Enterprise Manager, and another half of them are using EFM. But is also backup and recovery tool, also used by 47%, so almost half. And then the rest are quite equal. Other open source tools, 41% are using. And PG Barman and Rep Manager, the newer tools, we have about a quarter using 24% each. Using self-developed tools is 12%. Michael, I hope the answers provide some insights for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, I'll keep that in mind during the presentation. As you see, a lot of EDB customers on this. So thank you very much for being EDB customers.
Okay, so yeah, thank you all for participating in the poll. So without further ado, let me hand the floor over to Michael. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, Michael Villa, sales engineer. I work in EMEA, so it's early for me. But good morning, good evening, and so on to everyone. So this is the agenda for today. Some key takeaways on usability, security, and compatibility, and then a walkthrough of what is new in the database, in the tools, in migration portal, and short mention of the changes in supported platforms. And then at the end, a very short presentation of EDB. Half of you already know this, but the others probably don't. So you'll just have to suffer through it. And then some questions and answers at the end. And some resources, of course. Okay, so key takeaways. So usability in ePass 13, or sort of the releases of all tools and so on, coming up to version 13 of ePass. Postgres Enterprise Manager has gotten some work in terms of large databases. We've seen databases with more than 40,000 objects, and so finding a specific object in databases of that size can be a bit challenging, and there's a lot of scrolling going on and so on. So what we've done is we've basically just added a field so that you can search for things by name. Easy, simple solution, and we should have thought about it a long time ago, but there it is. PEM has had integration earlier as well for BART and automated failover, but now you can manage. BART is new, I think, and the automated failover. Now you can start a switch over inside EFM. Oh, sorry, inside PEM, and doing a switchover of EFM. We've also self-certified the PEM interface for visually impaired, so that visually impaired can use use PEM using screen readers and so on. It is a self-certification, but we've done it, and it seems to be working just fine. So on security side, We've had SCRAM authentication for some time. Now we've added channel binding to that. Channel binding is there to avoid man-in-the-middle attacks. So that has been added. We've also upgraded the minimum TLS version to include and to force an upgrade of TLS versions on clients. And we've added certificate-based authentication for EDB loader and foreign data wrappers, so that you don't have to have oh, sorry, 1 second here. So you don't have to have passwords hanging around in those configurations anymore. On compatibility side, and this is EPAS, I see that 25% of you are using EPAS, actually more than that, 25 plus 16, so that's quite a few, are using EPAS, and you all know that compatibility is a sort of ongoing effort from EDB, and the way that we do this is that we get input from users using, for instance, Migration Portal, to get all this information on which Oracle syntaxes are used and which are used very much, and we use that input to sort of prioritize the working compatibility. And on compatibility in EPAS, we have now improved the compound triggers. I'll get more into that. We have added defined long and column value in DBMS SQL because they were used a lot. And we've added automatic list and hash partitioning in there as well. So on the database. So this is from the Postgres release notes, the community edition release notes. And I just put it in here to remind everybody that Postgres Advanced Server is EDB Postgres Advanced Server is built on top of Postgres releases. It's not a branch. We always grab the latest release and then we add our features on top, make changes, of course, and test everything vigorously before we do a release. So this is here just to remind you that this is happening, and this is the way that we do things. I see some questions, so I might as well answer. Can we migrate directly to EDB EPAS version 13 from version 10? It's a very good question. I think you need to do, it's worth trying at least, doing a PG upgrade. I think it will handle it, to be honest. So yes, maybe if you get an error, then it will say, hey, you need to migrate to version 12 first or something, and then you need to install that and so on. But I think give it a try and see what happens. Second question is, what is the minimum TLS version supported? I believe it's 1.2. So, okay, so this one, as I say, we build on top of Postgres Community Edition, and so these are the second quadrant and EDB contributions. This presentation, as Violet said, has been done in the US and in EMEA for some time ago. The EMEA version was given end of March, I think. So it's not that long ago, 2 weeks. But the first one in the US was given at the end of the year, I think. So the slide is in here to show the contributions from second quadrant and from EDB. As some of you know, that EDB acquired second quadrant in September last year, and I've updated the presentation here for the new portfolio that has been coming out. We've been working on that for 6 months, so starting in September, ending in the end of March, with a new launch of our new portfolio in this month, beginning of this month. Funny enough, I gave this presentation at the end of last month, so I couldn't use the new portfolio, even though I knew what it was going to be. But you have to follow rules and so on, so that felt a bit strange. But now I can share the new portfolio here. So these contributions from second quadrant and EDB on the administrative side. There exist tools for checking that the folders are healthy on the database. It's called PG-CAT check. There's been some options available in that one that checks each file or checks that the initial file for each relation is available. I'll get back to that in just a moment. And we've added PG verified backup to check backups, check that we have all the wall files and so on. It is a quick way to check a backup and then to verify it. Of course, all DBAs know the best way to check a backup is to restore it somewhere else and see what happens. If it works, then the backup is good and we can keep it. If it isn't, we need to do a new one. So that's there. We've done some recovery improvements and some info on logical decoding that's been changed. On the performance side, incremental sorting has been implemented, which allows Postgres to use an incomplete index, so to say. If we have a column, for instance, a sort column in a select, asking for a sort on A, B, and C, and we only have an index for A and B. Earlier, that index wouldn't be used because it didn't fulfill the sort, but now it will use that index and then sort on C internally. There's been some extended statistics on plans and some improvements on the partitioning, which is a continued effort. And we've added parallel vacuum of indexes, which is a very important feature. Null handling on JSONB, and some changes in partitioning, adding the ability to use before triggers on partition tables, normalizing Unicode strings. As already mentioned, the foreign data wrappers can now use certificates, and we've also added client certificates with passwords. And the last one here, erase memory, the sensitive information, is basically inside the kernel, inside the core. When memory is released, it's overwritten. If it contains sensitive information, it's completely overwritten before being released into the operating system again. So vacuum improvements, parallel vacuuming allows you to set up a number of workers to sort of get a faster vacuuming of specific indexes. And as you can see over here, it really helps. So it's setting seven vacuum workers. You're below a third of the actual time being used when you don't have parallel workers in place. So very, very useful when your database falls a little bit behind on vacuuming of certain indexes. So very good. Also for append-only indexes, auto vacuuming will recalculate the statistics now, so you don't have to do it yourself. So looking at a PG-CAT check, it has now an option which, funny enough, isn't here, but it is on the next slide. It's called select from relations. So what it's doing is it's doing a select star from table, limit 0. So select everything, don't return any rows. What that does in the database is that the core is going to check that the initial file is there. And as you can see here, the thing that you don't want to see, of course, is could not open file XX. which you get inside Postgres. You get in the log from Postgres, and you get as an error as well. When this happens, if this happens in production, and that's what you want to avoid. It is a balance, because of course we would like to see a thing that could check that all our files are healthy at all times, but doing that would be equivalent to doing a PT dump. So this is sort of a compromise. So the big risk, of course, here is, especially for things like partition tables that are spread across many different devices, is that somebody by error deletes the data area, and then those tables and those partitions are no longer available. And so this sort of helps in that situation. Okay, so EDB Server DBA productivity, we've added automatic list partitioning and automatic hash partitioning, so you can set up a list of partitions that based on a list. You can partition based on that list. And I think I'll just go to this one immediately and show that. No, wait a minute. Yes. That you can, as you can see here, we're creating a table and giving partitions for India and for the US, and somebody then inserts data from the Netherlands. In this case, in Postgres, what will happen is that insert will fail because that partition doesn't exist. In EPAS, that partition will be created automatically. And then, of course, the DBA will need to make decisions on this automatically created partition. Where does it go? Which device should it reside on? And then start moving things around. With hash partitioning, again, you can set up here for instance, 4 partitions on different table spaces, and it will just be automatically created. And the really interesting thing is that some of you may know you can actually do sub-partitioning. And in that case, this will also work. So if someone, for instance, created the orders table in a list with sub-partitions with 4 hash-based sub-partitions, and then someone inserted new data, then those 4 hash partitions would be created, and the sub-partition would be created as well. And so, as you can see, this makes it a lot easier. Usually the DBAs need to chase the partitions and chase the data, so to say, especially in Internet of Things applications where data just comes rolling in. Hang on. Okay. So in EDB Loader, we have implemented a bad file so that duplicate rows end up in the bad file instead of the entire load being rejected. In the database itself, we have added EDB log every bulk value. If that value is false, then the bulk statement is logged with the number of rows. But if log every bulk value is true, then every single statement in that bulk insert or bulk update is being logged. So this is very nice to sort of limit the number of log entries in applications specifically that use a lot of bulk. Make it a lot easier to read the logs afterwards, and also they take up a lot less storage. So on Oracle compatibility, and this is a continuing effort, of course, what we have added there is now you can use using index in create table and alter table. And you can set parallel, no parallel option on create table and create index. In EDB structured procedural language, which for those of you who don't know is basically an Oracle PL/SQL variant. We have added define long column and column value long. Also, last error position has been implemented so that you can see where an error has occurred. We've added a when clause and all new variables, as well as statement level triggering to compound triggers. And we now allow for forward declaration in the package bodies, which is a nice feature for internal and not published procedures and functions. We've added some statistical functions and timestamp. And now we have an end of body exception for UTL HTTP. Okay, so on security, we have updated DBMS crypto to use AES 192, 256 AES algorithms. And we have enhanced the EDB audit on set commands. What happens in EDB audit is that every single statement is logged, but if you're a super user, you can change that setting. So what we've done is we're now logging that statement, that set command, and who's done it, so that you can catch that in the audit logs. So if no one is supposed to be doing that, you'll catch it. But it also, usually when super users do that, it's because you're running a script as a super user or something and it's doing a lot of work, and it's just part of the normal procedure of the database. And so instead of logging all that and having to store that, you can now just change the audit logging and not have this in there, and this one will log that, hey, this script changed the audit settings for this session. Okay, so tools. So for Enterprise Manager, it's quite a lot has happened. We have a graphical plan analyzer. We have a schema diff to enable a change log between two different schemas. This is very useful if you want to bring a schema up to date, or you want to start using some kind of versioning on the schemas, and so finally bringing, for instance, a development schema or something up to date, and then going from there. You can now do that with the schema diff tool. We've added SNMP version 3 support. And we've enhanced the diagnostics inside so that you can see the active number of sessions and so on. So I'll get back to that in just a minute. We've enhanced the integration of backup recovery and Failover Manager. And the DCAC certification that I've already spoken about. And now you can actually monitor AWS RDS Postgres and Postgres on AWS EC2. So very, very useful. So the schema diff looks something like this, right? You have a source, you have a target, and you're showing the difference here, and you can just pull this out as a script and then run it against the database, or you can log it as into a file or something. So very, very useful. The improved diagnostics, the dreaded question always from when some product owner arrives at DBA's office, it says, well, Friday at 2 o'clock, the database ran slow. Why? And it's Tuesday. So that has been difficult, but now you can actually go back in time and look at what was actually going on in the database, and maybe you can explain it. using the information here that's available. You'll have all the wait statements, the SQLs, and so on. So that should be it. Also, in version 8 of PEM, we have added webhooks. This enables you to forward all alerts from PEM to another tool that has a REST interface. REST interfaces are implemented in things like Slack. I wouldn't recommend using Slack for alerts, but it is possible. Another possible solution would be something like ServiceNow, which I believe actually implements a REST interface. So now you can forward from PEM to ServiceNow all the alerts that you need to work on in the databases, and have a common a sort of shared space for all work orders. Okay. So EFM BART. We now store the EFM password in secure hash 512 instead of the earlier versions. So improved security on the database password that's stored in the configuration. Also for EFM, we encrypt the conversation between the nodes. The EFM agents are implemented in Java, and so they use JGroups to communicate with each other. JGroups has introduced encryption, so we've added that so that no one can listen in on the conversation between the agents running and monitoring the databases. And when we promote a database from standby to primary, it no longer has to be completely restarted. It speeds up the promotion process and makes it a little more elegant and smooth in terms of failover and promotion. BART FIPS 140-2, it's a federal information processing standard. I'm no expert on this, I have to admit, but it seems like if you disable checksum verification, then things become more secure. Those of you who are the security experts may know what this means. I do hope you do. I don't, but it's a US government based thing, so it might be relevant for others. So this is why it's on this slide. Okay, so migration portal. So what has happened here is that we've added a view with common failures. So it allows you to easily get that information. We have an easier path to install EPAS from the server. There'll be a run this on, and you can deploy it to cloud. And we have significantly improved the migration assessment itself and the report generated afterwards, so that large projects now that used to take 5-7 minutes or something, and you're sitting there with a web browser and wondering, is it going to finish? Now it's running in less than 5 seconds. So that's a huge improvement. And some, of course, as I said earlier, many Oracle compatibility enhancements. Migration portal is a valuable tool for customers that are in the process of migrating Oracle or considering migrating an Oracle workload, or even for prospective customers who wants to see, how do our schemas actually match up with advanced server, and how much work is going to be involved. At this time, we've assessed more than 11 million objects, and we now have a 92% compatibility against Oracle. When I started in 2019, that number was 80%, which in itself was actually pretty impressive, because that means that you only need to do a fifth of the work that you would need to do if you were migrating directly to Postgres. But if you look at those two numbers, we've more than half the work that needs to be done during a migration. So that's pretty good, actually. And it is a continued effort. So hopefully we'll get even closer as we get more information from Migration Portal. Okay, so final word here on supported platforms. CentOS 8 has been introduced as supported, but just want to remind everybody that CentOS 8 is end of life December this year. That is a decision that Red Hat has made, and CentOS from then on the name will remain, but CentOS 8 will no longer be supported. CentOS 7 will, and then Red Hat is introducing a new code line called CentOS Stream, which is sort of in the middle between Fedora and Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So it's sort of a beta version. So it's not something you want to do and use in production. We have discontinued Red Hat 6 and Windows version 2012, Windows Server version 2012. And we will continue to monitor the situation around CentOS and then what is going on. So we'll get back to you on that in next quarter as well on what is happening. CentOS 7, as I said, remains, and it will receive maintenance updates from Red Hat until June of 2024. So that's still viable. So for other supported platforms, now we have Red Hat Enterprise Linux on Power, Little Endian version 8 and 9, Enterprise Linux, Oracle Enterprise Linux version 7 and 8. I don't think anything is going to happen to that one. And Debian version 9 and 10, Ubuntu 18.04 and 20.04 long-time support versions. And Windows Server 2016 and 19, and as I said on here, we've discontinued Red Hat Enterprise Linux and CentOS version 6 because they had end of life in November last year, and we've discontinued support of Windows Server 2012 release 2. So before I go to this, I want to ask if there are any more questions, and we have time to look at this.
Yes, Michael. One question. This person is asking how migration portal can lead to faster report generation.
Well, it's the report generation inside migration portal, and it's been optimized basically. Someone has spent a lot of time to optimize the report generation. That is the last step before showing data to the client. So that's what's going on. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. One more question, Michael. This is someone asking, do you advise to migrate from CentOS to Oracle Linux 8 then?
I think I'd want to check where Oracle Linux is going. I think Oracle Linux gets their sources directly from Red Hat, and so that would, in that case, that would be a viable way of going using Oracle Linux. I believe it is a straight copy. The only thing they do is they change the name and they change some logos. So yes, I think that's a viable solution.
Thank you. Another question is, how can we parallelize, I think, create index before EPAS 13?
I
How
don't think you
can we
can.
Okay.
I don't think you can actually. But it's not create index. The changes is on the auto vacuuming of indexes and not on the create index itself. I need to check the syntax. I think you can actually parallelize indexes. It may be that it's just in version 13. Now you have me confused. So I'll have to check on that. Any other questions?
No, I think that's all for the questions that have been asked. We do have a couple more questions, but I mean, I don't know if you want to continue with your presentation.
Yeah, I've just spent maybe 5 or 6 minutes on just showing who is EDB, and then we can continue with questions afterwards. Maybe we have enough time for that, I think.
Sure, we do have, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so who are we? So as I said, we acquired Second Quadrant in September last year, which was basically a match made in heaven. It's two companies that basically have the same philosophy when it comes to Postgres and how to work with Postgres and so on. So it's been wonderful to get so many new colleagues. But we're all database fanatics, and so we continue to innovate Postgres and supercharge Postgres with tooling and so on. We are now undisputed community leadership. I would say before it was toss up, who's the leader, us or Second Quadrant, but together, I think that debate is over. We are, as a company, recognized by both Gartner and Forrester. And just some highlights on here on the things that have been contributed from the two companies. So EDB founded in 2004, added heap tuples and materialized views and so on and so on and so on. You can read this yourself. At Second Quadrant, very, very much in the interested and active in providing standby functionality in Postgres Community Edition. So hard standbys, logic replication, transaction control, and so on. And also using that information to build a very, very interesting tool called PDR, which I'll, if I have time, speak a little bit about in just a moment. So those two companies, it just means that we have new colleagues. We have a lot new colleagues, and we have now more than 300 technologists in Postgres technologists in EDB, myself included, of course. But sadly, I'm not. There are people here who've worked with Postgres for more than 15 years. So. And I've worked with Postgres for maybe 3, so I'm very much a junior compared to these guys and girls. So 26 contributors, recognized contributors and committers, and founders and leaders such as Michael Stonebreaker, who is associated with EDB, Buzimon Jam, that you already know, and is an EDB employee. Leaders, development leaders like Peter, Robert, and last but very, very much not least, Simon Wicks, who's a major contributor himself, and he's the founder of Second Quadrant. And from personal experience, very, very knowledgeable on something like BDR. So from my experience, this acquisition was very, very simple, probably from an administrative point of view, and from product management, they had their challenges. But for me, I just had a lot of new colleagues and a lot of colleagues more knowledgeable than I am. So for me, it's wonderful. just a few of the people here, the customers that we like to talk about. I'm not going to mention them all. I'll just let you have a look at this slide for just a minute to see if there's someone you find very interesting. Okay, so EDB tools and EDB databases. So this is the new portfolio. This is the one that we've been working for 6 months to prepare for you. And so starting at the top with the databases, we have full support for Community Edition, of course. So that's PostgreSQL up here. We have Postgres Extended, which is a database that is binarily compatible on file level with Postgres. So you can basically install this extended version, run on it, and switch back to Postgres Community Edition afterwards. This database has been created to support BDR Enterprise Edition, which I'll get back to in a minute. And we have Postgres Advanced Server, which is the database that enables Oracle migrations. You now have 2 boxes for tools, one for open source tools and one for EDB tools. And I'm not sure if you can read this, especially if you're on a small screen, you probably can't. But down here at the bottom is full list of tools. And to be honest, I can't remember if I have a better slide on that. I don't think I do, so I'll just speak on it here. Starting with foreign data wrappers, of course. Then OmniDB and Enterprise Manager down here are for monitoring. PG Admin, you could argue as well, is for monitoring, although it's more of a tool that, at least from my point of view, is used for developers to get access to the database and play around with it and navigate and so on. OmniDB is here because Second Quadrant used OmniDB to monitor BDR, so bidirectional replication. So there's plugins into OmniDB. Those plugins are being written at the moment to work with Postgres Enterprise Manager as well. So we're adding that to Postgres Enterprise Manager. PG Barman down here, and PG Backrest, as well as backup and recovery tool for backups. The new strategic tool is PG Barman now. So that good friend Bart is going to take a back seat, and will some of the features that are available in Bart, such as incremental backup, block-based incremental backup, will be added to PG Barman. There's PG Bouncer and PG Pool for connection pooling. That has always been there. PG PostGIS has already also been there. Red Manager and Failover Manager down here for failover and the sort of automated failover to standby and promotion of the standby into primary. They do the same thing. They do it differently. The strategic tool going forward is Failover Manager still, and has been for a long time. Kubernetes operators are available. These are available for both standard high availability, and there is a specialized Kubernetes operator for BDR as well. Live Compare, of course, and the migration toolkit is available as well. We have Migration Portal, which for some reason is not down here, and we have Replication Server as well as BDR. So Replication Server in this case is the EDB tool that has been used up until now. It is the only tool in there. So replication server BDR. It's the only tool that can connect to other databases such as Oracle and MySQL and so on, and replicate data from there into Postgres. Okay, so just a quick overview of what, yeah.
Michael, sorry, I thought just before you move to this slide, there was a question related to BART. So
Yes.
this person asks, he says that as far as I know, BART will be discontinued for ePass 14, 18 months later. Will all BART features be ported to Barman PG REST?
That's a very, very good question. What we're trying to do here, and I see that there is a lot of users of BART on this call, and let me assure you that we will continue to support BART. We will continue to maintain it. We will continue to fix bugs in it and so on. PG Barman is the new strategic tool, and we would very much like to help the customers that need to do this migration. So please get in touch with us. I can't say that all features will be ported from BART to Barman, because some of those features might already be available in Barman, but in a kind of different flavor. So this is an ongoing discussion at this point. But Barman is very close to what BART does. It is a centralized solution, just as BART is. It can do full backups. It can do incremental backups. It just uses a different way of doing it. It uses rsync and hard links to do backups, which is very effective, especially in the situations where you have partition tables, for instance. Then if some partitions no longer are being added to, then they have no changes, and so an rsync will be very quick to do. So I wouldn't say all features, but a lot of them, and yes, BART will be supported for a long time going forward.
Thank you. I think you can move on. There's another question, but I'm not sure whether this is related. Is EDB supports RHEL8 on IBM Power? Is it only RHEL7?
No, Red Hat Enterprise Linux continues along the road. What Red Hat has done is they have basically discontinued CentOS. CentOS as a copy of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and so now it at some point, of course, CentOS 7 will be end of life, and then CentOS is no longer a viable production platform to run on, and then you need to start thinking about something else. So that's what's going on. Red Hat 8 is still supported. Red Hat 8 is still going to exist, and I expect Red Hat to implement Red Hat 9 as well. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, okay, there's actually, I just found one more question.
Okay.
This person wrote, I have close to 1 TB running on PG 9.6. What is the best method to upgrade in ePass 13 with minimal to zero downtime?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you have more storage available, then if you really want zero downtime, I would say that you need some kind of replication going on. So you would probably need replication server or something to move the data, and so when the data quiesces, then you can do the switch. I would suggest for a database of that size that you get in touch with your account manager and discuss with your SE as well, and with perhaps with professional services whether or not you would like help to do that kind of migration. Okay.
Yeah, I think we are really like only 3 more minutes to the end of this
Oh,
session. Yeah. So there's just one more question. This person asked me, I know why CentOS Stream is not a viable option.
yes. The way that, and we're still monitoring this, right? So no final decision has been made here. I'm just trying to advise. But what Red Hat has said is that the discontinuing CentOS, there's discontinuing support of CentOS 8, and CentOS 7 will continue until its end of life in 2024, and then CentOS Stream is going to be introduced. And CentOS Stream is sort of a midway between Fedora, which is a sort of early alpha version of the next Red Hat Enterprise Linux version. So at the moment, Fedora would be an early version of Red Hat's Enterprise Linux version 9 or whatever they're building at the moment. And then CentOS Stream is going to be introduced as a kind of beta version. So for testing purposes and so on. But a beta version of an operating system, at least in my view, is not a good candidate for production database or for production operations in any way. That for that you want a long-term support, or you want at least a full release of the operating system, of anything really. So that's why I'm saying that it's CentOS Stream is not a viable option. Of course, if your evaluation of that is different, then by all means. But I don't think that EDB will support CentOS Stream as a platform. But again, jury's still out. We're still waiting for the final word from Red Hat on this. Okay.
Thanks, Michael.
It seems we're out of time.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, we have 1 more minute, so I don't know how you want to take this forward.
Yeah,
maybe
let's
go through
see.
quickly.
These will be made available. So reading these and so on, you'll just have to live without my my good comments on these things. So we're going to go to this one. Resources. Just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that on the EDB site you have resources as a tab. Clicking that, you get all these wonderful things, all the documentation, all the blogs, webinars, past and present, past and upcoming webinars. So this one will be made available as well on this platform. You have Postgres tutorials, training, and so on. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that that was there. And so questions, I think we've covered that, and here's some links as well. The blog for EDB 13, a blog post on that, downloads, of course, white papers, and tailable metrics integration is for those who know Oracle, is TDE, so transparent data encryption, for EPAS and for Postgres. So that's available as well. It is a third-party tool, and so needs licensing and so on from Tailors themselves. Migration portal link, and some very interesting things that have been going on in terms of Ansible. We have Postgres deployment and some Ansible on Ansible Galaxy, so that we can automate deployments using that, and our customers can, and interested prospects can use that to deploy Postgres environments. And I think that's it for me. So just 1 minute over. That's not too bad.
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you, everyone. I think the number of questions asked is really very good, because we really do want to encourage this interaction. So once again, thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much, Michael, for waking up so early to share with us this information.
My pleasure.
And for all who are on this, who have attended this, be assured that this slide deck as well as a recording will be sent to you next week. So thank you so much once again, and look out for our next webinar coming to you soon. Thanks again, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.